1 Minute with Alan. This episode is called Buck. You know I love dogs. Most of you know that. And we've had 8 wonderful dogs. And our very first dog was Buck. Buck was a Siberian Husky. He belonged to my brother-in-law, who was being transferred to Texas in the Army. He was a lieutenant from New Jersey, and he couldn't take Buck with him. So he asked if we would take him. We lived in Summit, New Jersey at the time. My company's named after Summit, New Jersey. My lawyer said, I need a name. So I looked outside and I said Summit. Anyway, Buck was a beautiful dog. Siberian Huskies are lovely. However, I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings here, but you know, they are not the brightest dogs in the world. And they are stubborn as hell. And so Buck would run away all the time, you know, and one day, Jason, when he was young, my son tried to grab his leash, and Buck pulled sleds. He pulled Jason right up the hill next to our house. So anyway, one day Buck is ill, and he's moaning, and he's dragging himself around. My wife says, you got to take Buck to the vet. I said, okay. So I get Buck into the car. He's none too happy about this, but he's clearly indisposed. We get to the vet, and in those days, it was like the old-fashioned doctor's office. You just looked around and saw who you were behind, and you would be next. And there were about 8 or 9 people in the waiting room, and they had cats and dogs, basically. So Buck and I took a seat, and he wasn't bothering anybody because he was just sitting there moaning. And suddenly, Buck gets up, and he walks to the side of the room, and he lifts his leg, and he begins to pee. And I'm talking gallons of liquid here, spreading out over the floor, which has no drain. And people are lifting their smaller animals up. They're trying to get the large dogs to jump on the bench. And people, you know, are lifting their legs to escape this mess. And when Buck finishes, at that moment, the technician comes out and says, you and Buck are next. She must have, I don't know, made a mistake or seen what happened. We were certainly behind all these other people. But I said, okay, we walked through this liquid into the vet's office, and Buck is just his old self, fine. Giving the vet a hard time, you know, won't get in the table. Vet says he's fine. I said, I can see that, but what just happened? He said, you know, the dog couldn't pee. He might have forgotten to pee. But that was causing him, you know, some upset. But now he's fine. I said, well, okay. I'm glad to hear that. The doctor says, stop at the desk. He'll check you out. $75. I said, $75? I said, I've been here 10 minutes. You didn't even examine him. You haven't even touched him. He won't come near you. The doctor says, is he better now? And value-based fees suddenly were born.